This is Jeff Richards, Columbus, Ohio. You're listening to Barbecue Central.
Let's go!
We'll do it live. Okay. Well, do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
So to get that perfect barbecue, you use wood. Are you sure it's safe? Whatever. We put the lighter fluid on, strike the match, and... Oh! Should we call the fire department? That might be a good idea.
Good evening and welcome to the really big Barbecue Central show. This is the show that talks about all things that are important to the world of barbecue and grilling. The show originating from the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame city, Bomb City, USA, Cleveland, Ohio, the barbecue capital of the North Coast. I'm your program host, Greg Rempe. Happy to have you aboard here on your Tuesday evening's live fire fun and frivolity show. If you would like to get in contact with the show this evening or follow the show during off-show hours, here's how you do it.
You can get in touch with the show by sending an email to Greg at bbqcentralshow.com. Follow us on all the social media channels at BBQ Central Show. And be sure to subscribe to the show podcast feed on your favorite podcast platform.
Anything else you want to find out about the show can be found at the main website, thebbqcentralshow.com. And here's what's happening in case you get the newsletter coming up in about 12 minutes from now. A barbecue icon, a multiple-time book author on this very subject, world traveler, cooking class instructor, TV show host, sometimes radio show host, and quarterly podcast guest here in 2023. Of course, we're talking about Steven Raichlen. We'll be talking the obligatory turkey. He's got some TV shows coming up. We have some other book writing stuff that we might mention. Plenty to talk about. We're going to be talking about standalone griddling, which Steven has, my words, not his, poo-pooed a little bit on the griddling. So we'll talk to him about that and why he may or may not be falling in love with his griddle and what he's cooking on it. And then after Steven Raichlen, we will be joined by our third Tuesday of the month regular guest, 35 past the first hour, and the creator of CookoutNews.com, Wes Wright, will be joining us. Just when you thought business in the live fire industry might be slowing down a tick, you're wrong. In many ways, a lot of business being transacted, a lot of new products actually being released into the market here, and we have 6 weeks of the year left. There's new brands that are also being released that you've never heard of before, trying to do different things. And then the biggest thing to hit live fire in recent memory happened over the course of a week. Brilliant marketing campaign or sucky marketing campaign, depending on where you fall on it. But we'll talk to Wes about it. I'm going to leave that as a teaser. I'll take your guesses in the instant chat if you know what I'm talking about. So lots to talk about with Wes. None of it has to do with Traeger this time around. So the folks at Traeger, deep sigh of relief. You can get into the new year unless something happens next month, which we'll report on it, of course. But outside of that, take the deep breath and make it into the new year unscathed by the Barbecue Central show. And that's going to wrap the first hour. And then we'll move to the second hour where we will have our last quarterly visit with the creator of Hey Grill Hey brand, Susie Bulloch. Maybe there's a Todd Bulloch sighting. Definitely a Susie sighting. Could be a Todd. You never know. We'll also be doing the obligatory Thanksgiving talk with Susie. We'll also be talking more barbecue business with her. When she first started coming on, it was all about recipes, all about cooking, all about method. And then the more she grew in popularity, the more she got into the business side of things. And now we're talking more and more business every time she comes on, so that's not going to deviate here in the second hour. There's business to be talked about with Susie, and we'll get her take on a bunch of stuff, things that she has coming out as well. Those kits that seem to be doing very well. Remember, last time Susie was on, she announced the smoked fried chicken wing kit, and it had the breading that took forever for them to work out, make sure they release it right into the market. It had the sauce, it had the rub, had the directions, had the wet naps, everything. The kits, unique to the Hey Grill Hey brand, fairly unique to the industry. I don't know a lot of people that are doing kits, but Susie and the Hey Grill Hey gang are, and they're doing very well. So we'll talk all about that. And then this is where it gets really dicey. As you may or may not know, I have been efforting all day one Brian Jarvis, who is the owner over at the Atlanta Barbecue Store. There was a contest at the Atlanta Barbecue Store this past weekend. Things went down there. I want to talk to him about it. He has no microphone. As I was just texting back and forth with him, he had a microphone and then got rid of it, which I can't believe. So we've done 0 sound checks. He worked much longer than he had anticipated to try and get one in here before the show started. I've watched some archive shows. It appears he has no microphone, no earbuds or AirPods or anything like that even. So here's what we agreed on. The story's big enough for me to run the risk. He's going to come on 10:35 or thereabouts. We're going to immediately do a sound evaluation. We can't do a check. It's going to be a sound evaluation because it's going to be live.
We'll do it live.
That's right, Bill. And if it sucks, I told him I apologize in advance. I'm dumping you within 30 seconds of coming on air. And then we'll reschedule if need be. I can send you an extra microphone, make you sound good, all that stuff. If it sounds reasonably acceptable, which means I'm going to let it slide where I wouldn't otherwise because the story is good enough to sacrifice a little sound quality. Not a lot of it, but a little bit of it. And if he's in a certain type of room and he can get close and maybe he runs across something that might work. Maybe he's got a ear pod microphone combo thing that he's going to run across here in the next 2 hours. Who knows? But if it sounds halfway decent, we're going to talk about the event, the charity that it benefits, and then we're going to talk about what happened and why we're talking about it. Otherwise, it's just a great contest that went off. But, of course, something happened, so that's why we're having him on. So it's dicey. I have Brian Jarvis locked in. This I know. Assuming he shows up and gets through the instructions right, if he sounds like crap, he's immediately out. No offense to him. We both agreed on it. If he sounds somewhat good and we can get through it and it sounds okay, he stays. We will learn all about what happened over the course of this past weekend. So that's how the show's shaping up. Stephen Raichlen, Wes Wright in the first hour, Susie Bulloch, and potentially Brian Jarvis in the second hour. Don't forget you can follow me socially, Instagram, X, TikTok, Snapchat, at the handle at BBQ Central Show. We say good evening to those of you watching tonight through one of our video streaming platforms. You can go to Facebook and Twitch/BBQ Central Show to watch. You can also watch on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. We also have a new YouTube poll question of the week, and we're asking everybody this. And at the outset, it was 100 in one answer, 100% in one answer, but now we're getting closer to 50-50. I'm asking everybody this. Which turkey are you doing this year, spatchcock or whole bird? And currently it's 60-40, and 60% of you are doing the whole bird for Thanksgiving. 45% of you just dropped. 45% of you now are going to do spatchcock. 55% of you are doing whole bird, and it's changing with every second that goes by. So we'll ask all guests the same thing here this evening as we lead all interviews. I honestly thought this was the show open where I would not be talking about anything barbecue competition related. But here we are, again, with a third straight week of talking about a scoring issue. Granted, the past 2 weeks in the Open were focused on the issue with the American Royal Open. But this week we have a new one. We'll also get into the second hour. It was at a much smaller event than the American Royal Open. That was the Atlanta Barbecue Store KCBS sanctioned event, which took place this past weekend. And when it came time for awards, everyone is sent home. Why? Because there was no confidence in the awards being correct. I certainly have no issue with that at all. Better to be correct, for sure. And I'm going to ask Brian Jarvis about all of that in the second hour, and we'll see what he says. And that being said, we have either run into a period of time where coincidence is as unfunny as it gets, because a pair of reps that were at the American Royal were also at the Atlanta Barbecue Store contest this past weekend. Or we are beginning to see the scoring issues within KCBS are more dire than anybody thought. Let me be clear. I don't recall a time in the decade and a half I've covered this portion of the industry that scoring has been an issue like this. This is my experience. I'm not talking for anybody else. So to see it, and that's held every year, and then at a relatively much smaller event compared to the American Royal Open within weeks of each other, is alarming, if nothing else. I shot an email off to the CEO at the KCBS, and I asked him the following. What happened? Is this the same issue with the American Royal that happened this past weekend? If so, can we assume that it might be attributed to the same reps? Was the decision to call the event off without awards directed by you, or was that the sole decision of the promoter at ABS? Has there been any timeline put in place to have scoring software updated or redone? The answer I get back. Greg, thank you for your email and inquiry about the Atlanta Barbecue Store contest in Cummings, Georgia this past weekend. KCBS is looking into what happened at this event regarding the scoring and tabulation. The issue appears to be unrelated to those that occurred October 1st, 2023 at the American Royal. However, until all the facts are known, commenting further would be speculative and unprofessional, and based on the information provided during a phone call by the contest reps and and technical support that day, I decided to postpone awards. So we have, I'm going to call it conflicting reports. You have Brian Jarvis saying he's the one that called off the award ceremony, and now you have the CEO of KCBS saying that he's the one that called off the awards at the ceremony. Nevertheless, this was there was also a special meeting last night of the board looking to find out what happened at this particular event as well. So a lot of things going on. They were able to compile the correct scores, and Brian Jarvis held a virtual award ceremony on his internet show, which he does every week. Very well done considering the restraints that he was put under. But this certainly bringing a lot of questions and a lot of heat from competitors starting to wonder how accurate their scores are at events across the country. Teams are also asking about when a fix or a patch is going to be in place for their score system, or when a new program might be made to eliminate the issues that currently exist. And as you heard in the reply from Rod, that was something that wasn't mentioned in the reply back to me. So we're going to keep track of it. We'll give you the updates as we get them and hear about them. What did I just do? Let's hold on a second. Let's start over again. Okay. I see what we're doing here. Let me do this. Yes. Let me do this. And now we're ready. Wow. Stephen Raichlen is ready to go. We'll get to him here in just 1 second. Aside from the YouTube poll question of the week, I'm asking you this. Are you tired of settling for mediocre grilling experiences? It's time to step up your grilling game and bring the ultimate flavor and cooker to the backyard barbecues. Pits and Spits Charcoal Grills, offering the highest quality live fire cooking experience you can get in the market today. Using either wood or charcoal, their solid fuel grills produce those classic flavors you're looking for when you have time to fire up the grill for family and friends. With a large adjustable fuel tray, you can raise and lower the fire to control and fine-tune the heat. It's their take on the very popular Santa Maria-style grill that you're seeing. You can check them out online at pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and use promo code Charcoal Central, all one word, to check out Charcoal Central. You can save $150 off any charcoal grill that they have for sale. Just by offering and entering that code, Charcoal Central, as you check it out. You save $150. Easy, easy. Pitsandspits.com, and that's the double T on the pits and the spits. Pitsandspits.com/BBQ Central and promo code Charcoal Central to save $150 off any charcoal grill at Pits and Spits. We'll be back with Stephen Raichlen right after this. Stick around.
You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Broadcasting live from the BBQ Central Show studios in Cleveland, Ohio. You're listening to the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
Welcome back. This portion of the show being brought to you by CookinPellets.com, your number one source for quality wood pellets for all your pellet-driven cookers. You visit CookinPellets.com and then figure out what you want to buy. And then when you're ready to buy, you go to Lowe's.com or Walmart.com or Amazon.com. How do you forget that one? Same great products, just great shipping rates as well. Great folks over at CookinPellets.com. My first guest tonight, an icon in the industry, host of TV shows, creator of Barbecue University and teacher, James Beard Award-winning author, and recurring guest right here on the show, our pal Stephen Raichlen. Stephen, we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody and all guests alike, which is this: which turkey are you doing this year, spatchcock or whole bird?
Never spatchcock for me, always whole bird. I feel like a spatchcock bird looks like it got run over by a steamroller, and nope, I want no part of it. I'm
Wow.
a Norman Rockwell kind of guy.
All right, well, you'll be happy to know that 60% of the YouTube voting public are also going whole bird, and there were some chirps there in the instant chat saying, outside of Thanksgiving, spatchcock all day long. But give me Thanksgiving in particular, which is where we're going to be at in a couple days. And like you're saying, they want the Norman Rockwell, they want the aesthetic, they want the old school vibe and feel. So everybody's going whole bird. That being said, maybe you've seen it too. All over social media, everybody is spatchcocking their birds, from the most popular YouTube chef to all points in between, home cooks, ham and eggers like me that are now spatchcocking. Have you seen an uptick in spatchcock popularity for this Thanksgiving?
I really have not been paying deep attention to it, to be honest with you.
So not to social media? Where do you get your news?
Well, I have to confess, from the New York Times, but I know that's probably going to make me unpopular with a lot of people too.
An actual
Call
news
me
outlet.
old-fashioned.
How dare you?
Call me old-fashioned. I write for the New York Times, and, I go with them.
All right, so it's whole bird in the Stephen Raichlen house because we like Norman Rockwell and the way it looks and feels. And
we like the way it looks and feels. It's a centerpiece, Okay.
What are the traditions otherwise at a Stephen Raichlen Thanksgiving?
Well, every year for about 20 years, I did my turkey a different way. I've spit roasted it. I've done beer can turkey one year. I slid truffles under the skin one year. I loosened the skin and filled it with herb butter and herbs. And I've really sort of settled on a method it's my go-to method, and that is a 24-hour brine, basic brine, 1 cup salt, 1 cup sugar, 1 gallon water, fresh herbs. And then I actually always cook my turkey on a big green egg. I feel like that little felt ring in the ceramic cooker holds in moistness. I go at about 325 to 350 for the first 3/4 of the cook, and then right at the end crank it up to 500, baste the bejesus out of it with melted butter to try and crisp up the skin. Try saying that 6 times. And that's my bird.
How much of a hold time are you allotting, and what size do you feel is the best size to cook?
So I prefer multiple small turkeys to one big monster turkey. For me, the ideal size is about 12 pounds, 12 to 14 pounds. Hold time, do you mean hold time once it comes out off the smoker?
The other thing I've been seeing a lot of, we've talked about it for decades, but target temperature to get it to pull out of the oven or off the cooker. So I've been seeing a lot of 155, pull it out, let it rest 25 or 30 minutes to get you to the carryover of, let's call it, early 160s, maybe to a 165, although I prefer a little sub 165. I think you can dry out pretty quick on the breast if you're shooting for 165 and then the carryover. But just wondering from that tactical standpoint where you pull it at, and then do you allow for a certain amount of carryover?
Yeah, I pull it about 160 and I let it go up to 170, 172, something like that. I feel like poultry, for me, chicken, turkey, it's a little more tender when it's slightly overcooked. I know that's heresy again. I guess tonight is my night for Raichlen heresy.
You're going to tell us you secretly put ketchup on hot dogs too after you boil them to cook?
I do not.
No.
Negative to that.
Yes,
I don't
yes.
even like ketchup, which is, I guess, probably yet a third Raichlen heresy.
Crazy. So
let's switch topics. I'm burying myself here.
what about the? So are you getting heritage breed birds? Now, this is something I've heard become very popular over the last 2 years. Much more expensive than you're getting at the everyday store for 99 cents a pound. I think these can range $6 to $12 a pound or something like that.
Well, to be honest with you, this year I'm going to somebody else's house for turkey, which is going to be really nice. But we always, our sort of baseline is organic turkey, and then we have had the heritage turkeys many years. I just think they taste better. I think they're raised in a more healthy, sustainable way, and it's a holiday. I'm willing to pay a little bit more to eat a higher quality bird.
When we look at Thanksgiving, there's no publicity, especially when compared to Halloween preceding it, Christmas obviously following it, or whatever you're celebrating in that holiday season. And for what is considered to be such a major holiday, it does appear to fly under the commercialization radar, if that's even a saying. Why do you think that is?
That's a really good question. I could make a guess. I don't know. Black Friday sort of takes care of the rampant consumerism that comes after Thanksgiving. If I were an idealist, I might say that, it's one time of year when we all kind of cut back from consumerism and just be thankful for being alive and having our loved ones in our health. But that's probably, in the world we live in, being a little overly optimistic today.
I ask this question every year, and I'm such a turd because every year I have said that I'm going to be a better turkey eater throughout the year. Well, guess what? I'm no better this year than I have been in past years. In other words, Thanksgiving is my biggest turkey eating day, and unless I'm at a barbecue restaurant that's offering smoked turkey of some sort, I'm really not cooking it at home. How many times a year are you actively eating turkey?
I would say we do a whole turkey, obviously, for Thanksgiving. We'll do maybe 2 whole turkeys and maybe 4 or 5 turkey breasts. I mean, I love to brine and smoke a turkey breast in the summer when we have company coming to visit. And, it's just have it, slice it up for sandwiches. Yeah, so I'm not, in fact, it's sometimes very frustrating to try and find fresh turkey other times of the year than November.
Favorite sides, and then we're going to get off of Halloween, Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Okay. So, homemade cranberry sauce, of course. homemade. I either do a stuffing or in my book, Project Smoke, I have a mushroom bread pudding. That's sort of become our go-to stuffing. Yeah, we do the sweet potato with maple syrup and brown sugar and marshmallow thing because, it's tradition, like Zero Mostel sang in Fiddler on the Roof. We're very traditional.
In keeping in one vein of heresy, and this is probably mine and not yours, is there any room at the table for jellied cranberry where you can cut a nice cranberry puck off and put it on a slice of turkey or on some stuffing or something like that, or no way?
Absolutely. I love that stuff. When I was growing up, my Aunt Linda, who was just slightly older than I was, used to cut little jack-o'-lantern faces in slices of cranberry jelly, and I've always retained a fondness for it.
We've talked about the growing, raging popularity of the griddle that is making its way into people's backyards. It's now a complementary piece to a charcoal grill or gas grill or you name it. How is it growing on you? I know you're a big plancha guy, and typically that's like a separate piece throwing it on a live fire, but have you bought more into the freestanding griddle?
Greg, I just acquired my first freestanding griddle in my backyard, and I've used it for every meal in the last 48 hours.
Wow.
And I'm absolutely crazy about it. First of all, there's certain foods you can cook on it that really are difficult to cook on a grill, like eggs, like pancakes. Yes, you can do a grilled cheese sandwich, as I've written about it, but you get a different texture when you grill cheese a sandwich on a plancha. So I'm really having fun with it. And, and it's maybe just after 25 years of writing about grilling and smoking, it's the challenge of using a new piece of equipment, the fact that you can put it outdoors, satisfy certain needs. I think in the past we've talked about these A5 Wagyu steaks, these ridiculously generously marbled and expensive steaks from Japan. And if you try and cook those on a grill, the dripping fat is going to turn the whole thing into a burning conflagration. However, if you cook those on what in Japan would be called a teppan, we call it a griddle. You get a crusty outside, you keep all that luscious fat inside. So there are things you can do with a, in fact, I guess, spoiler alert, I am working on a book on plancha and griddle cooking. Being a Raichlen book, it will delve deeply into the history and culture and anthropology of griddles. Four of the world's great cuisines have them, right? You think about the plancha in Spain, you think about the teppan in Japan, you think about the Mongolian grill in Taiwan. I think about the griddle in the United States, the piastra in Italy. So I guess that's five. Right up the champa in Argentina. So this is a cooking device. Obviously, many great chefs and cooks have found that searing on hot flat metal can do wondrous things that you can't even do on a grill. So I'm exploring that now and really having fun with it.
Is the majority of your travel then going to focus on those 4 or 5 places that you had mentioned, or are there
I'm pretty deep into the book already. So
okay.
I've already done a lot of travel to research that. Yeah. But you do bring up a good point, which is my personal, not that you meant to, but my personal methodology for writing a book. First thing I always do is pack a suitcase. And the first part of the book writing process, it's always traveling, seeing, doing field research, and then coming back and putting it all together in my home and test kitchen.
Speaking of research and maybe flowing that into classes, one of the things you do every year is BBQ University. New location this past year, is it going to be at the same campus in 2024, or are you going to be moving again?
Nope, Alisal Ranch in Solvang, California. And if that sounds familiar, we taped the last season of Project Smoke and the first season of Project Fire, my PBS TV shows, at the ranch. Fantastic property. We have an amazing outdoor classroom. I think we were up to 36 or 38 grills and smokers this last time. We're going to add new ones to the collection. I teach, but students really do the grilling under my supervision, and it's super fun. Next session is taking place the 3rd, 4th, and 5th and 6th of September, right after Labor Day. And actually, tomorrow we're going live with the website, the announcement. Actually, Friday we're going live with it. We're the sign up page. So barbecuebible.com, or you can visit Barbecue University. Hey, if I can also share another piece of really exciting news for
Sure.
you. I've started this company called Planet Barbecue to do, which is also the name of the new TV series, but to do prepared Raichlen barbecue that we sell through food service online, and we are about to have our first pop-up restaurant. It's in Snowmass, Colorado, right at the foot of one of the ski lifts. So I'm super excited about that. We'll have details on that in the website very shortly.
You going to be cooking in that?
I will be making a visit. I actually have a partner who's my stepson, and he's really kind of running the show, but at this point. But, there are my recipes and my barbecue sauces with it.
Wow. So we're looking forward to that. Sign up for the class will be on Friday, and then, or is that for the pop-up too?
No, the pop-up, we're waiting for snow. We got to have a certain amount of snow at the foot of the mountain in order for all the food operations to open. So I'm betting probably you want to play it safe. It'd be like December 10th, December 15th, something like that.
What about Planet Barbecue, since we're talking a little bit of television? Is that going to make a reappearance next year as well?
You bet. We're working on season 2 even as we speak. Funny, I always say it's the 2 hardest weeks of my year and the 2 most fun weeks of my year. But our core crew has been together now for about 15 years, and so it's a big family reunion. And I have I've evolved from dreading television, worse than a visit to a terrible doctor, to actually enjoying it. So I can't wait.
Are you incorporating black boxes and some of these new items that you've put in the TV shows recently and keeping along those themes? Or what's the new things we might be looking at?
Well, the theme, obviously the theme is global grilling with a name like Planet Barbecue. We are going to do some work with planchas and stand-up griddles in this series. We're going to bring back the mystery box, which is one of my favorite parts of the previous series, which was Project Fire. I love that surge of creativity when you lift up the box and you see some improbable ingredient and you have to figure out a dish to make with it in live television. So we'll be doing that. Visits, field trips, it'll be a Raichlen spectacular.
Let me ask you a couple business questions here as we lead out. Number one would be, this is more speculatory. What do you see next year as a potential trend or something that is going to get introduced that you think is really going to be picked up by the live fire public?
Well, that's a really good question. I think griddles are going to continue to grow. I think pellet grills are going to continue to grow. I think there is a nostalgia element. I think we're going to come back to some of the dishes, like I wrote a book called Beer Can Chicken about 20 years ago. It came out and it was
Looked like a beer can.
International bestseller. Yeah. And so we're bringing out that book again, completely modernized and updated. And I think in the next year, on one hand, we're like all this innovation, especially through social media. On the other hand, I think we're going to go back and sort of rediscover a lot of classics that many people of my generation, perhaps yours, cut our teeth on, and, for us to find barbecue. So I think you're going to see that.
This is Stephen Raichlen. You can find him at the website barbecuebible.com. He's also on social media channels as well. Stephen, always appreciate the time. So we wish you happy Thanksgiving coming up here in a couple days. Also, a very happy holiday season, and we'll look for you in Q1 of 2024.
That sounds great. Happy Thanksgiving to you and all your listeners, and thank you for the great job you do.
All right. Thanks, Stephen Raichlen right there. BBQBible.com is the website. In case you've never visited that before, shame on you. Of course, you should have. And he's going to be new television show guy. There's going to be a pop-up in Colorado he's going to be making an appearance at. His stepson is the chief cook, but Steven's recipes, as he said. So looking forward to seeing all of that. And then we'll see if some of those predictions come up. So I like especially getting back to some nostalgia. I love that. So there you go. Taylor from New York is writing in. Hey, Greg, Robert Moss was a home run last Tuesday during his origin story segments. I thought he was just a barbecue guy and did a lot of writing and research, maybe some local restaurant reviews in his hometown. Who knew he was such an accomplished computer science person? Way to go, Robert. Keep up the great work. Live stream watcher. Regards, Taylor. Taylor, all right. Live to boot. But I don't see you in the chat, so maybe you're just a live lurker. Sam in Alabama writing in, Greg, Heath Riles is my second favorite barbecue person next to Malcolm. I thought I was a super fan of his, but had no idea his products went through a significant rebrand about 7 years ago. Like you, I'm a big fan of his butter bath and wrap products. So great, so easy, and way less messy, unless, of course, you spill it. Podcast fan only. Regards, Sam. Live listener, recorded listener. I'll take them all. All shapes and sizes, you betcha. Wes Wright is in the green room. We're going to get to him and talk business in just 1 second. Before we do that, we'll talk about Primo Grills. Now, maybe if you were actively listening to Steven talk when we were talking about how he cooks his turkeys, he prefers to put it on a ceramic cooker because why? He thinks it lends itself to a more humid cooking environment. Well, guess what? I 100% agree. What did I tell you? A week ago Sunday, I put on 2 racks of ribs, fired up the Primo for indirect, so I put in the deflector plates all the way around to make sure I wasn't getting any direct heat. Set that thing at 275, held rock solid. And after 3 hours, when I opened it up for the first time, thought about hitting it with a little bit of spritz of water / apple cider vinegar. But after I opened the top, oh, mercy. Those things were as humid looking as they could be. Now, let me ease your mind. Humid like all the rub washed, whatnot. No, not like that. Just a nice, juicy product. Almost like it was self-basting. Can that be? Maybe. Maybe Primo self-bastes the meat, and we don't even know how that works because you close the top and you can't see it. Find one of these non-confirmed, self-basting ceramic cookers at a Primo dealer near you, and don't tell anybody I said that. It's just between me and us gals. PrimoGrill.com is the place to go. PrimoGrill.com. Click the dealer locator. Find the one near you. Visit them and see all the different size ovals. Remember, the oval is great because you can stack the coals on one side of it, and you can leave the other side coal vacant. You can put meat on top of that. You get a nice indirect cook. Can you do it with rounds? Not great. It's not very efficient. It's a lot of cast overheat. That's a term I'm making up right off the top of my head. But the oval, because it's oval, allows you to put in that separator and then really gives you the 2 zones that you're looking for. PrimoGrill.com. That's PrimoGrill.com. We're back with Wes Wright in 1 second. Stick around. I'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
We thank Stephen Raichlen for joining us the last segment, barbecuebible.com. This segment brought to you by Fireboard, where you can monitor up to 6 different temperatures simultaneously. You can connect to the Wi-Fi's for cloud-based monitoring or the Bluetooths. If you have smart speakers in your home, Fireboard is integrated with most of those. Fireboard.com is the website. You can call with questions, 816-945-2232. And don't forget, next week, Ted Conrad makes his return. We're going to be talking about that Fireboard beacon. My next guest tonight is the creator of the cookoutnews.com website and third Tuesday of the month regular guest. And now we can add this to the docket. Barbecue Central Show Guest Hall of Fame nominee. I am, of course, talking about Wes Wright. All right, Wes, so we have a YouTube poll question of the week that we're asking everybody here this evening, and Stephen Raichlen gave us his answer, and now we need yours. This Thursday, you are cooking what? Spatchcock or whole bird?
A curveball. I'm doing turkey breasts. So.
No. Okay, but if you were doing a whole,
if I was going to
doing a whole
bird.
would you keep it whole or would you spatchcock?
I'd do a whole. Yeah.
All right, so 57% of the YouTube voting public now are saying whole bird, and it's getting closer and closer to 50-50 as every second passes. A lot of stuff to talk about here. As I had mentioned in the open, I figure by November every year, things are going to start slowing down from a business perspective. But as you go through cookoutnews.com and you set your Google searches in the right, or you Google alerts in the right way, you quickly realize that this has been a very busy month. A lot of stuff that's going on. Solo Stove takes a huge swing with the Snoop Dogg Giving Up the Smoke campaign. First things first, do you like the concept?
Yeah, I think it was a good idea, and I think it got the coverage that it was after because, I mean, a lot of people were talking about it, tons of reaction, and I mean, it was covered by pretty much every media outlet imaginable that, had nothing to do with anything Solo Stove related. So, yeah, I think it was a success.
To drive that point home, my sister was visiting for the last couple days, and I forget how weed came up. I'm not a big weed guy myself, but somehow weed came up, and immediately it was like, oh, did you hear or did you see that Snoop Dogg is giving up the smoke? And she was shocked and immediately went to the phone to try to see the post, this and that, to ask for space for family, respect my decision, this and that. And then, 3 days later, he's coming out with, I'm not giving up weed, of course. I'm giving up smoke from my bonfire grills or from my campfire. And so now they have this jointly branded Solo Stove fire pit, which I'm sure, was it like $100 and some odd more than whatever the normal stainless steel one is?
Maybe a little less than that because it comes with a stand too. So yeah.
Any idea what kind of money Snoop Dogg gets to do this?
Yeah, if I have no idea. I'd just be throwing out a guess. I mean, it's got to be what, mid to high six figures, maybe seven figures. I mean, because he has what, 120 some odd million followers across social media. Then you're getting him to do a short commercial spot too. That's got to be a lot of money.
I'm thinking it's way over what you were talking about. I'm thinking it's like $5 million.
Yeah, could be. If you told me that was it, I wouldn't argue with you.
I did send out an email to John Maris. Said, hey, would love to have you back on the show. Let's talk about Snoop Dogg. Oh, by the way, how much did you pay Snoop Dogg? I got no answer back. Would John know? I mean, he would know how much they paid for that, right? He's the CEO.
Yeah, he'd know. It'd be interesting to see if there's a pop in their marketing budget for when they release financials. I'll have to watch for that.
How big of an impact do you think, this is going to be speculatory because it's just come out, but how big of an impact do you think this will have on sales, or is this basically a stunt and that's more or less where it's going to live?
I think for them it's more about like top of funnel awareness, if anything, because a lot of people that if you read People magazine or wherever you heard about it, you may not be that interested in a Solo Stove product, but now at least you might know what it is. I kind of laughed at some of the media coverage of it because it was clear they had no idea what a Solo Stove was. Like they said that he wasn't giving up weed. He, was branding a stove, and it's like, well, it's not a stove. Or they said he was branding a grill, and it's like, it's not a grill either. But, it's just kind of funny.
Clint, I don't know if you know who Clint Cantwell is. He's kind of the second in command over at AmazingRibs.com behind Meathead. But Clint and I did a hickory-flavored propane April Fool's stunt like 12 or 13 years ago. And everybody bought it. In your expert opinion, which is bigger nonsense? Hickory-flavored propane stunt that Clint and I did, or the Snoop Dogg stunt?
I think they hit a little different. I think yours is kind of clever because it's something that people would believe, but it's not even a real thing. I think with the Snoop Dogg thing, it was that people interpreted it, and then even like you would read major media outlets would say he said he's given up smoking weed as like a direct quote, and it's like he didn't say that.
Never said that.
But yeah, he never said that. So, but I like yours because it's something that's believable that someone would try, and it's not even a real thing at all.
I remember like 3 years after the fact, somebody must have gone through the archives and was like half paying attention. And then I got the email, does Kingsford still sell the hickory flavored propane? And I wrote back and was like, were you really listening? You should go back and take another run at that, because at the end of the segment, we said it was April Fool's and this and that. But boy, it went like gangbusters there for a little while. All right, so let's transition off a Solo Stove. Let's go to Loco Cookers, which was really taking the griddle world by storm there for a good chunk of time. And in your article that you wrote on cookoutnews.com, it says that Loco Cookers cuts the cord on the digital knob display. What's exactly happening with this particular griddle?
Yeah, instead of having that little, I guess it's like an LED or LCD display on each of the knobs, it's just, you set it to a temperature, and then it doesn't need a power cord to keep that temperature, so you avoid that creep you get with griddles. That's their innovation with that product. So, and it's at a cheaper price point too. I want to say $400, something like that. I could be wrong, but it's around there.
So taking away the display, does that really strip out a lot of cost? Is that a pretty expensive feature?
I mean, it must be if they're able to make it be cheaper. It doesn't, and it has a cool look to it. So there has to be a cost associated with that.
And they also ripped out the covered card air, so now it's more like a Spirit version Weber instead of the Genesis, right?
Yep.
Where do you rank Loco as a company in this landscape right now, the griddle landscape? They have distribution through Home Depot, which that's pretty phenomenal. So I would think in awareness, I'm trying to think if there's anyone. I mean, they've got to be in the top couple. I mean, it's really like, it's Blackstone and everybody else. But, yeah,
I would think behind them, they've got to be, one or two behind them. But I think too, like what they do with their like original, like Low Country, broils, I think that's a really cool market that is pretty untapped, that, they're the only one that's like a real brand in it, as opposed to like some, off brand. So I think they have a lot of runway there too.
RecTech is going into Ace Hardware. So as we talk about Loco getting distribution inside of Home Depot, Ace Hardware and RecTech are now teaming up. This is obviously a large deviation of their previous direct-to-consumer concept or way of doing business. So what are the potential wins and losses for them doing this?
I think on the losses, you lose that some of that connection with the consumer. You lose that data of who's buying what, or whether it's perceived or real. Just that connection that sometimes consumers feel from ordering from their website itself. What you gain obviously is more visibility. You're at they said it's up to the Ace dealers whether or not they want to carry them, but you get a different consumer base that is going to see your products like on the showroom and be aware of it that way.
Does this affect the Traeger positioning at all?
It's another competitor for them, and it'll be interested, especially because Traeger, I've heard, has some like aggressive merchandising. So, I'll be interested to see how that plays out, where they're sharing space with RecTech and what they do about it. But I mean, Traeger's in, Home Depot and Ace. So they're around forever. But it'll be interesting to see how they set it up. Next if they carry them next to each other or just one or the other.
Is this an exclusive agreement, or could they branch out to even more retailers? That being Rectech.
Yeah, they didn't really say. I don't know. I don't know the terms of it. If I had to venture a guess, I would say it's not exclusive, but I think that the brand they've built isn't quite ready to go to like a Home Depot. It really change kind of what their positioning is. Not to say they couldn't do it, but it's just different. They were founded where everyone had the founder's phone number if you had a problem with your grill, and obviously that's not going to happen if you're selling in Home Depot. It's just a lot different from their branding.
Are most successful companies the ones that are finding that mix between direct to consumer and also building healthy distribution through either big box retail or a large distribution or distributor network?
Yeah, I think there's definitely some diminishing returns or like a sweet spot between that mix. That's something that Solo Stove talks a lot about. And like a year ago, they were D2C only, and that's all we do. And then they increased their channel relationships more and more and more. And now they don't even say they don't even consider themselves like a D2C brand. And they say that it raises awareness. And if you look at their earnings, all their D2C has been decreasing while they've gained, sales through all their channels. And they say it's not cannibalizing their business because they're accessing a different consumer that wouldn't traditionally shop D2C, and it adds awareness. So I think, they're like a case study in finding that sweet spot of, what's D2C versus through retail channels.
Blackstone, which we know for griddles, is also fairly formidable in the pizza oven market, and they've introduced a new portable pizza oven. What do we like about it, and what could be better?
I think that like $300 to $400 you can get a lot of pizza ovens now for that range that are some great pizza ovens, and so this is their entrance into that market. It's they're more expensive ones, like it's for like a 16-inch pizza, where this one is more like a 12. I think the stone itself is 13 inches. And so, they took that similar technology as a rotating stone, electric start, which I really like. And it loses that top stone in the more expensive one, and it'll run off a 20-pound tank or a 1-pound tank. What's neat about it too is it has actually a closing door on the front, which I'm curious to see how well that works, because it's slotted so you can see inside. So I'm curious to see how much heat retention it has.
One of the complaints of the bigger versions was that burner that's patented in the back can get like really effing hot, and there's some learning curve to make sure that you're not burning the hell out of your pizzas. Is this dialed back considerably just due to size? It doesn't have that afterburner type thing in it?
Yeah, well, this one, it says it has a max temp of 800. So, people say the sweet spot for pizzas is like 840. I've heard, I don't know where that was derived from, but so and Blackstone's actually sending me one, so I'm going to, review it firsthand. So I'll be interested to see, but yeah, it looks like a nice oven, and that rotating technology is definitely easier than using a peel and turning your pizza every 30 seconds,
Last one here is W.C. Bradley bringing a new brand and a new product to market, and this is different from the Charbroil Edge. So it looks like the parent company is really pushing in on being the leader in full-size electric grills.
Yeah, they're going all in on it compared to everybody else. And I think what's cool about it too is so it's going to be the first one that has, phone connectivity, and rather than marketing it initially like through traditional, grilling outlets or grill marketing, I'll call it, they're going to the Consumer Expo show or Consumer Entertainment show in Las Vegas, which is all the consumer gadgets and stuff like that. So I think it's neat that it's going into that place, and I think that crowd might like that product and introduce some new people to grilling. I think it's a cool idea.
Have you had any hands-on experience with it yet?
I don't. It's not supposed to ship till February.
Oh.
You know, I'd love to try it and see, you know, how it compares to the Edge. One thing I didn't mention in the article too, but they say in their, I can't remember where I saw it, but they say it's the only electric grill that goes to 700 degrees. And I was thinking, well, the Edge does. So does that mean they're getting rid of the Edge, or what are they doing with that? You know?
So why? I'm not very smart, so you can work me through this. Charbroil brings the Edge out. They were going to make some revisions to it. They were going to get rid of that weirdo warming rack that was all the way over on the corner right. They were going to give you a full cooking grid surface. Granted, it's not huge as far as cooking space, but if you are in a live fire restricted apartment complex, or you don't feel comfortable using propane or charcoal, by and large, it was a decent option. The only complaint I really ever had was you really had to start out at 700 degrees, number one, all the time. And then as soon as you started opening up the lid, for as much as I was told recovery was very quick or comparable to what a gas or charcoal grill was, I didn't find that to be the case. It was struggling to register back to 700 if it even never got back there at all after its initial climb there. Why not bring a new electric grill under the Charbroil name instead of launching a new brand and then giving it some, real, so you now have the new name of the grill, and it's, obviously very different from what the Edge is like, but why make that big of a divergence?
If I think what it might be is that a Charbroil electric grill, you're marketing it to people that like grilling, right? And they might be more resistant to trying an electric grill. Where if you have a new brand that's all about, smart cooking and technology and things like that, it might have a different market and a different appeal. Like marketing can be so funny like that. I know you post watches on Instagram and stuff like that. And I can't remember if it was Fossil or somebody. I read a case study where they brought out their watch that was like pretty entry level and no one bought it. Then they jacked up the price a few $100, and all of a sudden they had like an interest and people thought it was, a great product all of a sudden. So like marketing and branding can be so peculiar like that, where you just have to find the right crowd. And I think that's why they don't say like, this is, current backyard from Charbroil, or from WC Bradley. I think they want to establish it as like this own, unique startup thing to hopefully appeal to that crowd and people that aren't traditional grillers.
Well, time will tell on if this venture is going to be worthwhile and that brand sticks as its own entity, or maybe it ends up dialing back into the Charbroil world. We'll see. This is Wes Wright. You can read him over at cookoutnews.com, and hopefully you'll have had that Blackstone pizza oven for a little while so we can get your firsthand account in December as we close out the year. Wes, always appreciate the time.
Yep. Thanks for having me, Greg.
Wes Wright. Read him. And he's covering everything news-wise, business-wise over in the live fire industry, cookoutnews.com, and check it all out. I was especially interested in both the RecTech article that he wrote and that, I'm going to call it the strip down of the Loco cooker, but it's not the 36-inch model. It was the I'm going to say thinner. I don't know what the hell you call it. It's not as wide. It's the 26-inch. So you got the cart ripped off of it, and you had the LCDs taken out of it to show the temperature that the top was at, all that stuff. And now it just looks like an oven, unless you got a digital oven. But if you don't, you just twist it up to where the temperature is. That's what it looks like now. So we'll see where it goes. Maybe I can land Mr. Plumber in 2024 again and get a little catch up there. Right, we are done with the first hour. Stick around. We'll be right back.
Continuing to produce incredibly mediocre content in an exceptionally professional way. You're listening and watching the BBQ Central Show. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
And we thank Wes Wright for joining us last segment. Cookoutnews.com is the website. Currently, as we get ready to close the first hour, 58% of you say you're doing whole birds on Thursday. 42% of you saying you're doing spatchcock birds. And we'll get our second hour guests online with that as well. All right, we're going to step away. We'll refresh libations. We will head to the second hour where you will find interviews with Hey Grill Hey, 14 past. And we'll see what happens with Brian Jarvis, 35 past or thereabouts. So stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
This is Michigan embedded correspondent John Solberg, and you are listening to the Barbecue Central Show.
Happy to have you aboard here for the really big barbecue show.
We cook because we have to, and we grill because we want to.
Hit me.
Fine, how's it going?
You have a great show. I'm a big fan.
Boing.
So what seems to be the problem here? This man looks like he's dead, and he's in the crackle. Charbono! It's all about the charbono, dude.
Succulent fish. What?
He ate 54 wieners. Oh, listen, Libertius, shake your face.
I'm shaking like a dog shit peach seeds.
We have top men working on it right now. Top men.
And just like that, we are into the second hour. It's the Barbecue Central Show, where we talk about all things that are important in the world of barbecue and grilling. If you missed the first hour, shame on you. But rest easy. It's being audio recorded and video recorded. Videos archive immediately after the show is over and can be watched directly. Audio, you'll get hour number 1 tomorrow. You'll get hour number 2 on Thursday, and we'll talk about Friday here in just 1 second. Still to come on the show this evening in about 13 minutes, Susie Bulloch of Hey Grill Hey. There may or may not be a Todd Bulloch sighting as well. And then closing out the show, maybe, Brian Jarvis from the Atlanta Barbecue Store. As I mentioned in the first hour, we've agreed we're going to connect. We'll listen to the sound for Brian, and if it's not good, he's out. But he's good with that. However, I am opening to reducing my sound standard that I set in order to get the story, which is also very important. But that sound standard can't be reduced all the way. So we'll see how it goes. I may have to do a rebook with Brian, but we're going to give it a go around 10:35 here this evening and see what happens. We say good evening to those of you watching the show tonight through our video streaming platform partners, Facebook and Twitch /BBQ Central Show. You can also watch on YouTube, which is youtube.com/@BBQ Central Show. There's a robust chat going on. Also a YouTube poll question of the week, and I'm asking everybody this. Okay. Which turkey are you doing this year? And this year, I mean Thursday, spatchcock, or whole bird, and 54% of you are saying you're doing whole bird. So maybe a lot of you are like Stephen Raichlen, who first hour said he doesn't like anything about the spatchcock. He doesn't like the look the spatchcock bird gives. It looks like it's been run over by a truck. It's not how Thanksgiving is supposed to be. We want the whole bird. We want the Norman Rockwell, blah, blah, blah. There were a lot of people in the instant chat that were saying if it wasn't Thanksgiving on Thursday, I would be spatchcocking this bird. But since it is Thanksgiving, I am keeping it whole for the aesthetic and for the tradition. So we'll see how the percentages work out through the rest of the show, and we'll be asking Susie that and Brian as well as we close the show. Coming up on the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less this coming Friday, if you can believe it, we're going to be entering in episode 309, taking you back to February 20th, 2012, with a guest you may or may not recall. I referred to him and still refer to him as jeweler to the barbecue stars, and of course, from Willoughby/Chardon, Ohio, Stephen DeFranco will be making his appearance on a Best Moments show this coming Friday. Steve is one of the very few, dare I say, select few, that have been a guest live in studio. And this segment was done back where the show was born, Euclid, Ohio, very close to Cleveland, just east. And if memory serves me correctly, which it probably doesn't, I think he was a guest twice. Stephen DeFranco Jewelers was a longtime sponsor of the show back in the day. Steve actually reached out to me through email one day and said, hey, I'm a big fan of the show. I'm into barbecue and grilling. Oh, by the way, I happen to work in Willoughby, and I'm up at Points East. I own the jewelry store. And I said, well, that's only Stephen DeFranco up there. He's like, yeah, that's me, Stephen DeFranco. So our love affair has burned deeply ever since. Many, many years now, well over 12. And I actually tried to refuse his money many times before finally relenting and allowing him to sponsor the show, because I was like, why would you even want to do this? You own a jewelry store. So he either saw value in it or he saw a pathetic loser who needed some wins at life. You make your own decisions as you listen to the show this Friday, which is now 11-year-old, this segment. So believe it or not. And by the way, I did see Steve a couple weeks ago when he hosted a watch club at the shop. Luckily, it's 35 seconds on a bad day from my house, just right up the hill. And he talked about coming back on the show as a guest. So we'll see if that actually happens or not. It's probably not going to happen in 2023, as we are full of guests through the rest of the show, but maybe 2024. So we'll see what happens. You can subscribe to the best moments in the podcast feed if you go to thebbqcentralshow.com/subscribe, and there's even a way to do it through email. And if you want to hear a guest or a segment again that you think's been lost in the archives, you can email John Solberg. That's John, Jon, at thebbqcentralshow.com, and let him know what you would like to hear. And then there's this. I don't even know if I have time for this, but I'm going to get into it. There's an Instagram handle you should all be following if you don't already. It's called Bart's Barbecue. Now, maybe there's a period in between Bart's and barbecue. Just put it in the search, B-A-R-T-Z, Bart's Barbecue. So from what I can tell, he caters for Cypress Hill, very well-known and iconic rap group, one of my favorites. And he also does some pop-up restaurant work out of the L.A. area. And my man, no pun intended, wants all of the smoke. He is running a take that has many barbecue places out on the West Coast right now where he is saying that they are simply raping their customers when it comes to the food prices, and that their food costs reasoning is straight BS. Then he proceeds to back it up by telling you all of his food costs and the grades of meat he's using and how he's pricing it. And it's like half of what everybody else is. I mean, this guy is ready, and he's taking on all suitors that want to take a run at him, which leads me to the point I'm trying to make tonight. I randomly get an Instagram message from someone the other day, and it leads me to a post on the Bart's Instagram page. Well, looky who Bart's has sunk his teeth into now. Your old pal, Adam Perry Lang. Yes, the Adam Perry Lang that I suspended from the Guest Hall of Fame back in 2021, that APL. The stuff that Bart's is posting is incredible. It's shocking. And depending on who you are and what side of the fence you fall on, offensive. And he means to be offensive, by the way. He's letting everyone know that APL is not the person that you think he might be. He's not the person you should be idolizing all the way around. And he's posting all the stuff that I talked about back in January of 2021 when I suspended him from my Guest Hall of Fame. And I have to say, I'm very happy that this is organically being picked up and trotted around again. Because for all the new folks who are being turned on to Adam, who need to know where this guy's been before he got to where he is now, I was shocked to see all the messages coming back to me going, what? I had no idea. So if you're new to the industry, if you're new to the show, if you've been told to follow Adam Perry Lang on social media to see him wielding large tomahawk steaks over the Weber Kettle Ranch like a wizard, you also need to be told this. It is well documented that Adam was the personal chef for one Jeffrey Epstein. Yes, that Jeffrey Epstein, the world's most prolific sex trafficker, abuser of underage women, and purveyor of the like to many of the world's most influential people, that guy. Well, APL was his personal chef. Go ahead, run down the rabbit hole, see what you find. It is indeed shocking. As I said in 2021, after reading and listening to everything I could get my hands on, do I think Adam was complicit in depraved acts? No. Do I think he was personally trafficking these girls around? No. However, knowing that what this job entails, the responsibilities that he had to execute, the locations he was at, and the people he was serving food to, I will maintain that even though he said, I will help however I can, only to follow that up with, I saw nothing, I know nothing. That doesn't fly with me. I don't believe that for a multitude of reasons, and not for the least of which is the firsthand accounts by some of the victims talking about their interactions with Adam himself. So no, I don't think he didn't hear anything, didn't see anything, or doesn't know anything. It doesn't make sense to me on any level. And for the new folks coming into the industry, this is something you 100% need to know about and do your own research on if you're so inclined. And Bart's Barbecue is going off on this topic currently. So if you want to get the quick, up-to-speed, refresher course, whatever you want to talk about, Bart's Barbecue is the place to go. And it's worth the checkout so you know everything that's going on. So Susie Bulloch is getting ready to come on. HeyGrillHey.com, the website, of course. Before we get there, let's talk about Big Papa Smokers. Listen up, gang. Our friends at Big Papa Smokers have something special just for you, the listener of this show. Whether you're a seasoned pitmaster or a grilling newbie, Big Papa Smokers is your one-stop shop for all things barbecue. From their championship rubs, mouth-watering sauces, essential accessories, they've got what you need to take your products to the next level on the competition circuit or in the backyard. Here's the cherry on top. Big Papa Smokers offering the listeners of the Barbecue Central Show an exclusive deal. Use the code REMPE at checkout. That's REMPE. And you'll get $10 off your next $50 purchase of rubs, sauces, or accessories. Imagine the possibilities. Evaluate your barbecued ribs with Big Papa Smokers Sweet Money Rub, or add Big Papa's Desert Gold to your chicken or vegetables, or better yet, pick up Big Papa's Double Secret and add it to your steak. It's a winner. Head on over to BigPapaSmokers.com and start shopping today. And don't forget to use the code REMPE, REMPE, at checkout to claim your $10 off your next order of $50 or more. Also, don't forget to check out Big Papa's full line of recipes at cookingwithbigpapa.com. And, of course, make sure you're following him on all the social media platforms. We're back with Susie Bulloch right after this. Stick around. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Howard Stern, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick, and Greg Rempe. The Mountain Rushmore of talk show entertainment. Now, let's get back to the Barbecue Central Show.
All right, welcome back to this portion of the show being brought to you by Pit Barrel Cooker, the most unbelievable outdoor cooking device on the planet, currently available in 3 sizes, a host of accessories. Doesn't matter if you're a beginner or a professional It's a cooker you want to add to the arsenal. That's the bottom line. Also, the PBX deal still going on. So when you're writing in, ask them if you can get the PBX deal and tell them the show sent you. Leading off the second hour and joining me for her last quarterly segment appearance in 2023 is the creator of the Hey Grill Hey brand, Susie Bulloch. Oh, look, there's Todd Bulloch as well. So we give him a cheer, of course. No Todd last time, but we got Todd this time, so we'll take it. Appreciate you guys showing up here this evening. Before we get rolling, we want to ask you the YouTube poll question of the week, which we're asking everybody, which is this. Which turkey are you doing this year? Is it spatchcock or is it whole bird?
Whole bird, baby. We're
bird.
doing the Hey Grill Hey turkey kit this year.
All right. So 52% of the YouTube voting public are also doing whole bird. So I think this is the first time in recent memory that everybody is agreeing on everything except for the 48% that said they're doing spatchcock. But all guests have said whole bird. For you guys, and you can answer independently of each other, especially if you're going to be competing on answers, but is it specific whole bird because it's Thanksgiving, or regardless if it was January 48th, you would also be doing a whole bird because that's what you like?
It just depends on time and circumstance for me. So whole birds, I'm happier to do at low temperatures. I actually think spatchcock works well at higher temperatures because moving the thighs away from the breasts a little bit and, creating more of that flat surface area, you do get an even cook at a higher temperature. But we're going to be rocking our turkeys low and slow. I want a really traditional smoked turkey with the rendered skin. It's not going to be a crispy skin. It's that really all the fat's rendered out. It's incredibly tender. That's what I'm going for. And that's $225. And I think it works just as well with a whole bird. And then I don't have to cut out the backbone.
But I think regular run of the muck time of year, I'd rather just spatchcock it, cook it quick, get the meat. Like it's not a display thing. We're going to end up, cutting it into its individual pieces anyways. So let's just spatchcock it, get the cook over with and eat it.
I asked Steven the same question I'm about to ask you, and evidently he's not keeping up with any social media, so shame on him. But as you peruse social media, I told him I thought this was the first year where I visibly saw a huge uptick in everybody cooking turkeys seemed to be opting for a spatchcock bird. Were you seeing a lot more spatchcocking going on this year?
What I saw this year that was new was the frog style of butchering your turkey. Instead of the spatchcock. I think spatchcock has been around for a long time. And I think it's more, like you said, I think more, like the regular Joe have adopted spatchcocking. I think it's been around in the barbecue community and, proficient cooks for about 5 years, but it's really hitting mainstream the last year or two. But yeah, the barbecue community this year, I've seen a lot of the frog style turkeys.
As far as stats on our website so far, I think the whole turkey recipe is higher.
Whole smoked turkey wins in terms of volume for sure.
Would you rather frog turkey or spatchcock a turkey between the two?
Spatchcock.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Todd?
I've never done a frog one, so I don't know. Spatchcock.
Have you ever spatchcocked it? You have, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Use
in front of a crowd.
Yeah.
Use shears, or do you use like a kitchen knife or a chef's knife to do that?
I'm a shears girl.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I can get more leverage, both hands on there.
Yeah, good set of.
We have a big cleaver. That's fun to use.
Oh
too.
yeah, cleaver. Yeah, good set of kitchen
I feel like
shears
there's less
is key.
bone shards with
but
shears.
it's not as fun.
No, it's definitely not nearly as manly. So, but the hatchet is what you want to use. So last time you were on, Susie, we were talking about the smoked and fried chicken wing kit that you had just put out there. How did that end up selling over the past quarter?
Dude, they were awesome. I think they're I don't know. So we just keep increasing volume of our kits. We're just guessing. We have no idea how many people are actually going to order. We have no idea how popular they're going to be, especially with the wing kits. That was our first run of that particular brand of kit. So we didn't know. So we over ordered a little bit, but
we have about
not much.
We have about 25% of them left because we specifically shut sales down when turkey kits went live. And then we'll reintroduce the rest of the wing kits
for Super Bowl.
New Year's and Super Bowl.
Yeah,
and
so
they'll be gone.
I think they'd be sold out, but we actually stopped sales of them so that I would have a little bit left for Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But they did really well. I actually think our most rabid fans of the kits are of the wing kits. People were buying, they would buy one of them and come back and buy 4 or 5 more.
Wow.
It's such a unique experience. And like my goal with the kits, with every kit we've done, the ham kit, the turkey kit, the wing kit, was to be the best version of that thing you've ever had and have it be a complete package, totally comprehensive, start to finish. These will be the best wings you ever have. This will be the best turkey you ever have. And that was kind of the goal. And as we started getting the feedback from our customers in, like, best wings ever. My favorite was, we had a lady in our grill squad. I think she ended up buying like 5 kits. But she's like, I'm from New York. Like, I grew up on chicken wings. These are the best chicken wings anyone's ever made. And I made them at home, and it was the greatest experience. And she bought a handful more and is like giving them out. We have people in our group that are like rationing them at this point. They're like, I have 3 kits left. So the people that have used them and love them really love them. So it's been super gratifying to see like a product go from concept to development to production to execution, and then have them live in the wild in people's backyards and homes is like, it's freaking awesome. It's so cool.
I remember you said last year that the turkey kit was successful. I would assume turkey kit version 2 or 3, whatever this is now, is a banger.
Yeah, this is the second year. We did 250% more kits this year than last year, and we still sold out. So
wow.
We have to make even more next year, I guess. We had people messaging us like, help, they're gone. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you. We thought we'd have enough, but they still sold out.
Are people buying more than one turkey kit too?
Yes.
Like, what's
yes.
are people buying 2 or they buy 5?
They're buying 2 or 3, I think, is our most common number.
Wow.
Yeah. It's wild. And they're pairing it. We had a holiday bundle where we had some ham kits, and we sold all the way out of ham kits as well. We paired the turkey kits with the ham kits, and they just flew.
Just to show my ignorance here, what's in the ham kit?
It has my zesty gold sauce, which you can use as a binder for the seasoning, but also after, like, we use it on like sandwiches with the leftover ham, and it's awesome. It has a sugar and spice seasoning, and it has a citrus spiced glaze.
So I'm getting a question in the instant chat that says they're asking, if we go back to the wing kit real quick, can you explain the the stuff?
What is it?
What?
Contents?
It's not the rub. There's a word for it. You dunk
batter?
it, and then yes, the batter.
Yeah.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
First time
Got
hosting
you.
the show, everybody. Sorry about that.
We're new.
Wow. Tell us about the batter.
Yeah, the wing kit, it's a smoke fried wing kit. So it comes with my sweet rub. You low smoke the wings, get a lot of smoke on them. And then it comes with a batter. It's a gluten-free batter, actually. It's kind of based off of like a tempura style of batter. So it's meant to be very, very thin and shattery and crispy. And it's rice flour and cornstarch, and it's seasoned really well. And all you add is super cold water. So you take your wings off of the smoker, dunk them in the thin batter, and then give them a quick deep fry. And it sets up to the most, like, it really is like, I don't even know how to describe it. Like, they shatter. They hold the crunch for a really, really long time. And then it has a sweet heat wing glaze that's like a brown sugar, buttery buffalo sauce that's awesome.
From a kit standpoint, as I peruse what's out there in the barbecue and grilling marketplace, I don't necessarily see a lot of kits like this. Is this something that maybe you've developed? Let's maybe not take credit for kits in general, but in this instance, I mean, if this is kind of like your wheelhouse and you've been able to develop it into a whole new revenue stream.
You know, I think we got into the product business because our audience said, can you just make our lives easier? Like, you've given us all of the recipes, and that's amazing. But like, what if you just made the products for us, and then I didn't have to mix sweet rub by the gallon or everything sauce in quadruple batches at a time? Like, what would that look like? So that's how we ended up in the product space in the first place. Was our audience said, we love you, we want to support you, we love the recipes, but like, make our life even easier. And so that was kind of a natural progression with the kits as well. We started with the turkey kit because I really think that's one of the most intimidating cooks for people. It is a huge holiday dinner. There's a ton of pressure. You have 90 other things going on, and you're smoking a turkey for the first time. Like, how can I hold your hand and make this as easy for you as humanly possible? And that's what led us to the turkey kit. We wanted everything that you would possibly need for your perfect turkey to be in that kit. So that's the brine is already in there with a brine bag, like add water. And the seasoning is in there pre-made. Shake it on. There's a cranberry glaze in there, drizzle it. And then after that, there's also a QR code and there's written instructions that are printed out in a beautiful recipe card. So you can just have that and look at it and read it, map out your timing for the day and you're done. Or you can scan the video and I will walk you through every step of making the turkey. Like, so that's how the kits really started, was just how can I deliver you the best possible experience, the best result, the best turkey in the easiest, most consumable way possible. And that's how the turkey kit was born. I mean, there are people on the market that are comboing like their brine and a seasoning, but it seems to be stuff that they have available year round. So they're their poultry brine and a poultry seasoning, and that's what they're selling for their holiday, specials. I wanted to make something it was exclusive for like that smoked turkey Thanksgiving moment. I really wanted to be part of the experience, and it's worked out really well for us. Our audience has been super receptive.
It's crazy because it feels like almost she's created like a branded experience. Like when people make the Hey Grill, Hey Turkey, it's like when they use the turkey kit, it's like, this is the Hey Grill, Hey Turkey. I'm serving it for Thanksgiving. It's crazy.
And they all look perfect too. That's one of the coolest parts, is seeing how that's huge for my website. With recipes, I have to make sure that you can replicate it at home. So I test and I retest, and the way that I write things is very intentional, so that the way that I cook it at home, you can have that same experience at your house, right? You have to be able to replicate it. It's like, I mean, that when you see a commercial for a McDonald's cheeseburger and you go through the line at McDonald's, like, it's not going to look the same and you just accept that.
Yeah.
Like, that's not going to fly in the recipe world. Like, I have to show you a picture or a video or a result that you can repeat at home. It has to be the same. And so when that happens with these turkey kits, it's so fantastic to see the pictures coming in on Thanksgiving. We get tagged all Thanksgiving long, all day long. It's amazing, of just these beautiful, glistening smoked turkeys, and knowing that people were able to replicate that experience is incredibly gratifying, because that's what we work our butts off for. So it's awesome.
As we get ready to cross the threshold into 2024, do we have any new products for Q1 that are scoop worthy?
Not Q1. I mean, we're developing products 6 to 8 months in advance. So we are working for one for Q2. We actually have a product that's not a food product that we're going to be coming out with soon. They've been making appearances in our YouTube videos for a couple of months. We've teased it to the Grill Squad a little bit, but we are doing some insulated barbecue gloves. I feel like the glove space is really wonky in barbecue land, and I haven't really been able to find anything that I super love and continue to go back to over and over again. And the best solution is like cotton gloves with plastic gloves on top of them at the moment. So we've actually been in development for over a year on our own version of barbecue gloves that I think are going to really, hopefully have a really positive impact on the industry, increasing, some safety and dexterity, and, combining the flexibility that we want with the heat resistance. So those should be coming out maybe mid-Q2, and then I'm also working on some spicy things.
Spicy things.
Yeah, some spicy things.
Let's say we don't want to do turkey on Thanksgiving. We got a couple days left. Outside of the box, what would you feel comfortable, what would you feel confident telling people to make? Or if you decided to chuck a traditional Thanksgiving to the side tomorrow, what are you bringing to the table Thursday?
Pork loin.
Oh, I was going to say I'd make a pork roast, a crown pork roast. Yes. Dude, I make the most delicious pork roast. Now, I know it sounds silly,
pork
because
roast,
I feel like
is
it's
that
so
like
underrated.
the circle of pork?
Yeah, the bone-in pork roast. I French the bones. It has like this garlicky, herby, liquid crust. Yeah, it starts as liquid, but as you smoke it, it sets up, and that garlic starts to kind of roast and tighten on the outside. It is so, so delicious, and it looks absolutely beautiful on a plate. So if you're not a turkey person, but you love pork, check out my crown pork roast. It's so good. But I love that that's what you said, because that's exactly what I would have said.
What's your finish temp on pork? What do you like?
If it's a big roast like that, 140, and then I'll let it carry over kind of to that 145 spot.
You okay with pink in the middle a little bit?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You preach that to your grill folks?
Yeah, I mean, for public safety reasons, I will always recommend that you follow FDA guidelines. And for pork, that's 145.
Yeah.
So I feel really comfortable telling people, pull it off at 140, let the carryover cooking finish, take it up to 145, and you'll be happy as a clam.
Favorite Thanksgiving side dishes for Susie? What do you like?
Ooh.
You're going to steal mine.
Shoot. Am I?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to go with my stuffing. I have 2 different stuffing recipes. I have one on my website that is very like classic, super delicious, fantastic. I wrote an ebook years ago for holiday cooking on your pellet grill. Remember ebooks?
Yes.
But there's a recipe in there for a stuffing, and it matches the one on my website really closely, but it also adds in dried cherries and diced apples. And so it just brings a little bit of like sweetness to it, but it's cooked on the smoker in a cast iron skillet. So you kind of get these like crispy edges all the way around with that soft kind of middle, and it's so delicious.
So it's a dressing because it's not
right.
stuffing.
It's not in the bird. It's a dressing. My apologies.
Yes. All right. Got the English Nazi over there. What do you like, Todd?
Mine could honestly be served as a dessert, and I'd just be as happy. But it's her sweet potato casserole with candied pecans and bacon on top.
I knew that's what you were going to say, so that's why I went with dressing.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
You guys, crazy. I asked Steven Raichlen, I'll ask you. He didn't seem to mind it. I was shocked because I figured if anyone was going to take a dump on it, would have been him. I think in this on Thursday, there's probably room for 1 or 2 cans of the jellied cranberry. Cut a puck off, put it on a piece of turkey, or put it on your stuffing or something like that. Do we frown upon, or do we accept the canned jelly?
I mean, if you want it, that's fine. It's not going to be on my table, but that's because I grew up with my dad making homemade cranberry sauce every year. He would actually give it out as gifts to our neighbors. He was like quite famous for his cranberry sauce, and it has like orange liqueur in it, and it's very like citrusy and boozy and cranberry, and it's just not a Thanksgiving without my dad's cranberry sauce. So it's not that I'm like opposed to the canned stuff. It's just that I didn't grow up with it, so it's not part of my like Thanksgiving tradition.
Yeah.
But
yeah, that's what I'd say. If it's a tradition and you're having people over that it's a tradition for, like, it's fine. Just serve it for them, but make your own homemade stuff for you.
This is Susie and Todd Bulloch. You can find them over at heygrillhey.com. You've seen them once a quarter here in 2023. I mean, can we book once a quarter in 2024 as I put the hard close on you guys, or do we need to talk offline?
Yeah. No, let's do it.
Yeah? Todd, you in?
As I can be, yeah. Last time I was just licking I messed up the audio last time. I was licking my wounds in the other room.
Yes, well, that's fine. Everything has been fixed. Sounds great, and we'll look for quarterly visits in 2024. Have a great Thanksgiving, great holiday, and we'll see you next year.
Yeah, happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
We appreciate you having us on, Greg.
All right, guys, take care. Susie and Todd Bulloch right there, heygrillhey.com, and check out the website for last-minute inspiration, recipes, all that fun stuff. Yes. So I see Brian Jarvis in the switcher box. How will the audio be? We will see shortly. And then we will have a short segment, or we will have a normal segment. We'll see how it goes. Let me talk to you quickly about Franklin's barbecue pits. What you have with the Franklin pit is a deeply thought out and refined version of the old propane-style cookers that Aaron built for the Franklin barbecue restaurant. Stylistically, it reflects the kind of bare-bones, industrial, handmade aesthetic that he loves, as in the patina and the way he allows you to see the welds and the craftsmanship. Now, the schematics of the Texas-style offset pit are relatively simple, even if the things that are happening inside the pit are complicated dynamics of physics and chemistry. This is real heavy steel, number one. It's not the cheap stuff. So in the wintertime, or for the spots that see consistent high heat, this is something that's going to be able to take it for the long haul. You can have it for over 100 years if cared for properly, and very little maintenance at that. Franklin pits can be found at fine barbecue specialty stores in select regions of the country. If you, the listener, are an owner of such a store and you wish to become a certified Franklin barbecue pit dealer, you can visit their website at franklinbbqpits.com and fill out their dealer form. Now, maybe you're a listener and you want to own a Franklin pit and you live in a part of the country where there are no dealers around you. You can go to the same website, franklinbbq.com, and purchase a pit. Franklin Pits will ship you a Franklin barbecue pit right to your garage, right to the driveway. By the way, as I had mentioned last week, and we're doing it again this week, this has never happened before, and it may never happen again. You can save $400 between now and the end of the year when you purchase a Franklin barbecue pit. Yes. You like to save free money? Who doesn't? $400? You betcha. Just go to the Franklin Barbecue Pit website, and if you order it right now, you can save $400 on the Franklin Barbecue Pit between now and the end of the year. And you can even do that if you find a certified Franklin Barbecue Pit dealer near you. You can go in-store, touch it, feel it, kick it around. Probably break your foot if you kick it. And then say, I want it. And he'll say, okay, it's this much minus $400. And if he tries to pull any nonsense on you, say, well, the guy on the Barbecue Central show told me I can save $400. And then you'll save. You'll love it. FranklinBBQPits.com. We're back with Brian Jarvis right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
You're listening to the Barbecue Central Show. Whole packers, full racks, legs and thighs, injecting butts. If you've never heard this before, you might think you found the best XXX show ever. Let's get back to the most homoerotic host out there today, Craig Rimpey.
And we welcome you back. We thank Susie Bulloch from HeyGrillHey.com for joining us last segment. And Todd, as he said last time, he was licking his wounds. But this time, no. He's there and he sounds great. Coming out of the bullpen tonight is a guy who owns a barbecue supply store in Atlanta. He is also 2 years into putting on a great barbecue competition, the Atlanta Barbecue Store Competition, that has been sanctioned by the Kansas City Barbecue Society this past weekend. Their event had to postpone their award ceremony because of an issue that prevented them from getting scores that they were confident in calling out. So they sent everybody home instead. Here to talk about the event, the organization that it benefits, and how they feel being the next event that has a scoring issue associated with it since the American Royal. We race to the hotline and welcome in first-time guest to the show, Brian Jarvis. Brian, how are you, pal? Brian, I have no audio on you at all. Are you on mute by chance? No, not mute. It's all right. Hanging out here. Check. You can obviously hear me, so we're like halfway there. On your Windows device, if you go into the audio or sounds portion, there should be an input and an output section. I think we want to take a look at the input section and make sure that that piece of equipment is being shown as being used. And then once you select that, you'll probably have to go to the gear cog over to the right on the screen itself, and then hit the reconnect button, and that might give us some audio. See how that works. The good news is, for audio podcasters, you're never going to hear this. But for the live listener, welcome to the party, pal. Welcome to the party. If you want to try, like, just undoing it, and going off the computer mic and like bringing it up close, we can make that attempt and see how that goes. So in this instance, you might actually have to close the browser and then come back in for the mic to get picked up. So go ahead and close back out, and we'll go ahead and wait for you to drop back in, and we'll see what happens then. Tell you, Jason King hasn't been in the listening audience in 47 years. And he comes back, and it's like, oh, first year of doing the show, pal? Wow. Jason, I have good news and bad news. The good news is it's exactly like it's always been. The bad news is you're never allowed to come back on the show again. You just can't.
Is that better?
All right, Brian, we do have your volume. We got it.
All right.
All right. So however close you can get to that computer, I would certainly appreciate it, because that'll make the voice sound a little more close. And I think this is good enough to get through it. So before we get into the contest and talk about the charity or organization that you're benefiting from that, which I want to make sure we do that, talk to me a little bit about Brian. What are you up to? Have you always been into live fire? You always had the store? What's your deal?
Yeah, so we started a competition barbecue in 2011, my wife and I, and just competed a couple 5 to 8 contests a year. And then in 2018, we bought the Atlanta Barbecue Store, not the Barbecue Superstore. We're not the Barbecue Superstore, but we're Atlanta Barbecue Store. And just seeing that underneath my name there. And it's all good. It's all good. And then in 2019, we decided to start the Jarvis Foundation. Barbecue's been really good to us, and we wanted to see if we could give back. So we started that, and we tried to do a contest. Now, the funny thing is, in 2021, we had a competition sanctioned, scheduled, ready to go, and it got pulled out from underneath us with a KCBS sanctioning. But other than that, it's okay. Last year, we had our first contest. It was good. And then this year, we had an amazing contest. And yes, we had issues, and we had to my wife's messing with the lighting. And then we had, obviously, you know where we're at. So great time. Barbecue's a big part of our lives. We had the barbecue store. We compete. We organize. Barbecue's just what we do. So
Brian, what's the website?
www.atlantabarbecuestore.com, bbqstore.com.
All right. My fault. I don't know where the hell I came up with. Wow, you got some front forward lighting now? Jeez. That wife of yours, man. How about that?
I mean, she's amazing. She's amazing.
She's trying to help you look good. I mean, it's quite a task, I would imagine, but she's doing very well at that. Very well. Yeah.
I need a lot of help.
Good. So was the store, when you purchased it, did you do ground up, or was it an existing barbecue supply store that you bought into?
No. So my friend Randy Boswell had started the store. He had it for a couple years and decided he didn't want to do it anymore. He was kind of getting out of it, and asked if I wanted to take it over. We did. From there, we rebuilt the reputation, rebuilt the inventory. We stock a lot of products now. If anything that you need for competition barbecue, or anything just to go win your cul-de-sac, we have all the rubs, spices, injections, all of that stuff there for you to go compete or just cook the best barbecue you can imagine.
How easy is it to get a product into you? What's your testing to get a new product on the shelf?
Man, there are so many products. We get people asking us almost daily if we can take on their product. And we do try, we try to help the little guy. We try to help somebody to get on board, because we understand how hard it is to get into this business. So, I mean, the best thing to do is to send us samples, and we sponsor quite a few barbecue teams. And what we normally do is we get those samples and we send it out to our barbecue teams, let them try it, let them compete with it. If they like it, and they think it's something that we can sell, we'll add it to the site. And then a lot of times we just add to the site, and if it sells, we keep it. If it doesn't sell, then, we just eat it and move on. But it's not an easy thing to do.
Between the brick and mortar location and the website, are you doing most of your business through the retail spot, or is it online?
We are 100% online.
Oh,
We're
really?
an online store. Yes.
Wow.
Yep. Yeah. I know. Most people don't know that. Down here in Georgia, they do, but which tells us that we've done a good job of marketing ourselves. But yes, we are an e-commerce site. We are looking to expand into the brick and mortar, but for right now, it's easier. We have 3 kids. We have a 13-year-old, a 10-year-old, and a 7-year-old. And it's Ellen, my wife, runs the store. It's pretty much what she does. She's the barbecue store. And it's a lot. So right now we're just selling online and selling all over the country. And I mean, it's been taken off. So I mean, the past couple of years, it's taken off. So it's been pretty good for us.
So tell us a little bit about the competition that you've been running the last couple of years. And then, of course, let us know about the companies that you're benefiting or the charities that you're benefiting.
Right. So we started the Atlanta Barbecue Store Classic last year. There's always been a contest my first contest I ever cooked was in Cumming, Georgia, the National Barbecue Cup. And there has been a contest there in Cumming, Georgia, and this weekend before Thanksgiving, for the past 15 years, I guess. And we just took over that weekend. We took it over 2 years ago. It was kind of dying. People didn't. It was either going to go away or we could take it over. So we took it over. We were pouring everything we have into this, and just seeing the growth and seeing what's going on has been awesome. Our big focus on this contest, it's the end of the year. It's Thanksgiving. We're coming up against to the holidays. We just want it to be a party, right? Like we want people to come, hang out with each other, feel like it's just a relaxed atmosphere. Come cook, hang out with everybody, have a good time. We did a potluck dinner Friday night. We had over 200 people in this potluck. It was amazing. Just a great time. People sitting around, chilling. On Friday nights at a competition, it gets serious these days. I mean, it's to the point where people are getting ready to go and they don't really do much anymore. So for me, I feel like the way that we can keep barbecue rolling and keep it going is to get everybody back in touch with each other and hanging out and just getting to know each other again. And man, I tell you what, we have had such great feedback from our contest this year, which makes us feel good. But also, we had a little issue, and we did everything we could to make it okay. We did a live awards last night on our show. My whole family was involved. We did everything we could to make people feel something special about this. It's been good. We haven't slept much. We're exhausted. Putting on a contest for one is exhausting, but two, making it last another 48 hours is it's a lot, it's a lot to go through. So, but
let's dig into the happenings here. So from what I am able to ascertain is you have basically 2 competitions. So you have a backyard event, and I'm assuming that's either 1 or 2 meets. And then you have a pro, which is obviously all 4. Are these running, not to pardon the pun, are these running in competition with each other, or are you running backyard like at first part of the day and then you're running the pro later part of the day?
No, so so we did have a backyard and a pro contest, and they turned in together. Backyard and pro turned in at 12, and it's a 3-meet contest for the backyard in Georgia. Most of our backyard in Georgia, we do chicken, ribs, and pork. We don't do brisket. So yes, it was all in conjunction together. Everything happened at the same time.
Okay.
So, you could say it's 2 contests in one, which I know that seems to be where some of the problems have come into for us this weekend.
So when the teams are turning in, are the samples going back to, is there the backyard judging tent and the pro judging tent, or is it just one judging tent and everybody's judging everything?
So it's in the judges' room is all in one area, but the tables are assigned for either the Masters or the Backyard. I don't remember what the Backyard series is called. So either you're either assigned a pro table or a backyard table, and throughout the competition, the pro tables judge the pros and the backyards judge the backyards. And that's the way it is. So it's they're not really together, but they are together in the same time, if that makes sense.
When the awards are getting ready to go, from a presentation standpoint, I assume you were going to be doing. Are you like alternating? Okay, the backyard award going here. Now we're going to go pro, or was the thought to do all pro and then, or all backyard and then all pro? What was the outlay like originally?
No, so it was going to be just like last night. I mean, if anybody watched the show last night, you saw we started with dessert, which dessert was it went both ways. You had pro teams and backyard teams in the dessert category, so that was a merged in contest, or however you want to call that. So those two that was pro and backyard. So we called out dessert, and originally I would have called out Kids Q, because Kids Q is very important to me. We want those kids to get all the recognition in the world, because that's what the future of our sport's all about.
Yep.
But then we go with backyard chicken and then pro chicken, backyard ribs, pro ribs, and so on, until you get to brisket. And then we call the backyard overall and then the pro overall. So we try to make everything in together. You don't want to necessarily divide them. I don't. I think it's good for everybody to be in there together and feel like we're all part of this all together. I don't want to separate it. I want to make sure that it's something that we're all in there doing together. And I mean, they're in the same Atlanta Barbecue Store Classic as the next guy.
After everything's turned in, how soon are you notified that there's an issue?
Well, so having organized a contest that worked well last year, we knew almost right away. Like, we knew right away, here's your results. Everything's good. Boom, we're done. Go get your awards ready. Go get everything ready to go. And it was very clear that things were good. This year, it was very clear that things were not going good. Because I went in and I could see people normally, hey, here's your results, we're ready to go. Now they're still on there on the computers looking and doing things on the phone, trying to figure things out. And I'm busy organizing the contest. We got other things going on.
Yep.
So I just walked into the area and I was like, are we good? And then, yeah, we're working on it. I'll be back. So I just left because I didn't want to get in the way. I hired KCBS to come in to do a job, and I let them do their job, and I got out of the way. It was not my place to get in the middle of it. So I just left and went out, and I probably picked up trash or something. Who knows what we were working on at that time. Came back in, and still the same thing. And it got to the point where I was like, look, guys, we've had the Royal. I was at the American Royal. I was there. I know what was going on. Sunday, it was a disaster, right?
Yeah.
So, and we had teams from all over the country. We had a stacked field this weekend. I mean, it was a great contest. And I looked at him. I said, hey, are we going to be ready to go at 5? And give us 10 minutes. We'll let you know. Okay. Well, we went out and took a team picture with some of our sponsor teams, came back in. They're on the phone. They're doing everything they were supposed to do, right? KCBS worked. Our local reps did everything they were supposed to do.
Okay.
Proud of what they did. Came back and they're like, Brian, we think this is right, but I can't guarantee it. And I said right then and there, I said, I'm done. I'm not going to do awards. I'm not going to go up on stage and delay awards, because as soon as I mentioned that if I delayed awards, all integrity goes out the window. Right now, there's questions all over the place. And I didn't want that. I wanted people to leave our contest knowing that everything was right. And I couldn't do that. The information that I was given, I couldn't do that.
Brian, are they telling you any type of hypothesis on what the hang-up is, or if we get 10 more minutes, we can work through this? I mean, I understand when they say, here are the awards, And then your level of uncomfortable is about 100 being uncomfortable and 0 being comfortable. But are they telling you what they think? Here's a problem. We just don't know how to fix it, and we can do it in a day, or we'll send it back somewhere to get fixed? Or is it just like, we just don't even know?
At the time, it was, we see a problem. We see what's going on. We don't know why it happened. We don't know how it happened, and we don't know how to fix it right now. And I was like, okay, well, I mean, I was like, so we see something's going on. I mean, and our reps were on the phone with technical support, and they came in and took over her computer and went to town, was doing everything, trying to figure it all out. So at that point in time, I was like, this isn't good. I mean, I looked at my wife, I was like, Ellen, this isn't good. This is not, we need to, and it's heartbreaking, right? We spend a lot of time and effort and money and everything I mean, we had sponsors there. We had Meals by Grace, who was the organization, the nonprofit that we raised money for. And you know what? We raised money. Overall, the event was a success. We raised money for our charity. Our sponsors didn't get recognized a lot, but they got recognized. We did everything we needed to do. I tried to do it last night. But I still say, KCBS got it right. I mean, they worked tirelessly over the weekend, all weekend, Saturday night, Sunday, all day. I mean, we're on the phone with them. We're in contact with them. They're all in contact with the board and with everybody else working on it. And I mean, nobody slept, right? Nobody slept Saturday night. Nobody slept Sunday until it was all done. And I'm thankful that KCBS, they called a special meeting on Monday night. They did a lot of things in my mind that made me feel good about what they did. I got an explanation of, yes, we found a problem. We saw the problem. We're putting steps in place to make it to where this can't happen again, and that it's going to benefit all reps and all organizers, and any contest out there moving forward. Once they get this in place, which, I mean, after the Royal, they said they were going to work until January, and we're still in that same period of trying to get everything better. So,
do you think do you think it's encouraged them to do it as fast as possible at this point? I mean, certainly having the Royal is one thing. I mean, it's the biggest event, and like you said, you were there, you saw the whole disaster take place, and now you have one literally weeks after, not near the scale, but geez, pretty big contest, all things considered, where competition barbecue is these days. I mean, anything over 50 teams is a big event. And then it appears to be yet another scoring issue. What was the final post-mortem on what the real issue was, and how is this not going to affect another team next weekend?
So I've had this question for the past 2 or 3 days, since Sunday, I guess. What happened? What's going on? I'm not an expert in KCBS score, whatever the scoring system is. I don't claim to be an expert in it. I don't want to be an expert in it, because
that's why you pay them, right?
Right, exactly. I pay them to come sanction my contest, bring in judges, score it, give me a fair score, and move on. That's what I pay them to do. And but all I know is there was information that came in, the data came in, and it went from a backyard to a pro. The backyard teams or tables got merged into the pro side. How that happened, we don't know. It's still being figured out. But they've, man, it's amazing. All the stuff that they say they can do, and they can go back and see all the information that's there. It's pretty impressive system that they have. And the way that they can figure things out. And I feel confident. I've told all my friends, all my barbecue buddies, and we're in with a lot of them.
Yeah.
I can tell you right now, when they know when things are right, things are right. They know when things are wrong right away when things aren't right, and they can tell it and they can fix it. Or they can't, they might not be able to necessarily fix it, but they know there's an issue. And that's, if there's anything I've learned through this, when there's at the American Royal, they knew there was issues, right? Like, I think they learned real quick, and I learned this weekend or last weekend, hey, don't go out there just to have awards, right? Like, it's not worth it. It's a lot of work on our end now. Ellen and I, we have to ship out all the, we're shipping out all the awards. We're doing all that kind of stuff. So there is a lot to it now that we're going to have to deal with. But at the end of the day, we got everything right. We were able to do our awards. My kids were they won a lot of awards last night.
Yeah, I saw that. That was great.
And and we've had a lot of talk. We've had, overall, everybody knows about the Atlanta Barbecue Store Classic now, right? We've got a lot of people wanting to come next year. We've got a lot of sponsors coming on board now. I mean, it's really cool how, I'm hoping this thing will just blow up to be, it's already becoming a premier event, but we want to be a premier event in the South. And hopefully it will be.
And this doesn't taint you into looking into another sanctioning body for next year. You'd stick with the KCBS.
What's another sanctioning body? Like, what can I do? There's not another sanctioning body out there like KCBS. I'm sorry. There's just not. If my goal is to have a big event, there's not another one out there. I mean, and I'm not going to name the names or anything like that, but if KCBS is the biggest, baddest sanctioning body in the country, in the world. There's not a sanctioning body that can compete with them. In my mind, there's not another sanctioning body that is KCBS. I mean, and that's my opinion. That's my take on things. I mean, I've dealt with them. I've seen the way they responded. I feel confident in them, and there's no way. And I'll tell you right now, I will have the same reps rep my contest next year without a shadow of a doubt. I told Rod today, I was like, look, I do this next year, I'm having the same four reps rep my contest.
Pure coincidence that the two of them happen to be at American Royal that were also at yours.
Pure coincidence.
Wow.
I can tell you right now, there was nothing, and I don't want to throw any names out there. Y'all all know who it is. There's nothing that they did wrong that made this happen. So I can tell, and I know that. And I will say here, man, people lay off of them. I mean, these just like judges come and don't get anything for it. What in the world is it for a rep to come in there and do something to sabotage an event? They don't make any money doing this. They're there because they love barbecue, just like I love barbecue. They're doing everything the same reason you have your barbecue show, and we all love barbecue. We all want to see barbecue grow, and we all want to see it succeed. And yeah, this is a black eye again for KCBS and competition barbecue as a whole, right? Like, this isn't just KCBS getting a hit. This is everybody in barbecue. And I hate it happened to us. I hate it happened to our contest. But it did. And I can't do anything about it other than do the best that we can and try to make it as good of a results as what we can do. So, I had somebody say, hey, look, you made lemonade out of lemons. Good job.
Yeah.
And that's all we can do. I mean, we're in this situation. And I told Rod today, I said, look, this sucks, right? Like, this is not good. But if at the end of the day, KCBS becomes better, Atlanta Barbecue Store Classic becomes better, then it is what it is. And let's grow, let's get better, and let's move on, is my take on it.
Yeah, I mean, you got a great attitude, and with the award ceremony last night that you put on, I mean, obviously, being a parent, I can certainly understand some of the things you were contending with and working through, but even getting through those and having that whole award ceremony was certainly above and beyond. And I get you want to make sure that the teams that were there get recognized in some way. It's never going to be like when you're there amongst your peers and it's live, just like it would have been at the Royal. I get that. But to do something is better than doing nothing. So And great to
I
hear that
appreciate
it's
it.
not putting you off on KCBS as well. So, I mean, certainly I've been critical at times of KCBS. I probably get.
And I'm critical. Like don't get me wrong, I'm critical of them. I told them today when we had our debriefing or whatever you want to call it, I was like, man, we got to get it right. Like, this has got to be right. We're losing integrity in our sport. Like, we got to get this right. What can, like, and they all agree. And it would be one thing if they're like, everything's fine. Everything's fine. We're okay. That's not what they said, right? Like, they're like, you're right. We agree 100%. We've got to get this right. And just so happened that what we went through in our contest is going to, if that affects them in a positive way to make change, great. Because everybody everybody keeps talking about other sanctioning bodies, but we need KCBS to be right, because KCBS is, I mean, if we lose KCBS, we lose barbecue. I mean, it is what it is. That's my take.
Do you have do you have the dates picked out for the event next year already?
It'll be the same weekend. So whatever the weekend before Thanksgiving is, we're talking to the fairgrounds today, letting them know that we re-upped for next year. And it's going to be bigger, better. We've got some sponsors coming on. This year we did a potluck. Next year I've got a restaurant wanting to come on board and cook dinner for the teams. And so that's going to be a Friday night thing. I'm thinking about Thursday night, possibly doing the potluck, and just making it bigger and better. If there's anything we can do, I want the teams to come, have a good time. I mean, I don't know if Greg, if you've been to many contests lately, but we had 50 something teams show up out of 92 teams on Thursday.
Wow.
So on Thursday, we had over half the field there and just hanging out, having a good time on Thursday, which is it's the day that everybody can get together and have a good time. I mean, so I felt really good about the fact that people wanted to come out and hang out with each other. We have the best. It is an incredible location, flat spots. We have power, we have water, we have bathrooms, we have judges area. We have everything about this place is perfect for a barbecue contest. And I hope if you don't know about it, absclassic.com. We're going to do it again next year. Come sign up, have a good time. And Lord willing, we won't have issues again next year. It'll be one of those smooth ones.
Brian, really appreciate the insight tonight. Again, the website, atlantabbqstore.com, if you want to check them out and get all the stuff you need to either win in the cul-de-sac or backyard or on the competition trail. Brian is the guy you want to check out. Again, it's atlantabbqstore.com. Appreciate the time tonight, Brian, and thanks so much for doing it.
I appreciate it.
You got it.
Thank you so much.
Brian Jarvis right there. So I'm pumped up that he's so pumped up. I mean, that made me feel really positive. Certainly it could have swung the other way, like a lot. And he remains positive, going to be doing it again next year. Didn't even blink an eyelash, didn't even consider another sanctioning body. Certainly there's not 50 other sanctioning bodies that are out there, but there's certainly one or two other ones out there that could probably step in and offer their sanctioning services, but he's not even featuring that. So I think that speaks a lot to how highly Brian thinks. But there's certainly things to correct, and he said as much. So we'll see if anything actually gets sussed out over the next weeks and months to come, and we'll keep reporting on that here on the show. Before we close it out here this evening, and we ran long, which is fine. By the way, the sound standard, while not met, not horrible. So I feel pretty good about that. We hurdled over the headset thing that he attempted, which I certainly appreciate. I have no idea why that didn't work, but we tried a quick thing, no fix, unplugged, reconnected, and sounded good enough to do the interview for sure. Before we wrap it up, let's talk about something that has a delicious wrapper on it. Aladino cigars. Oh, my favorite brand out there today. You know I am all about the Corojo Reserva line, yes. But now I'm working my way through a box of the Aladino Classic. So if you have a retailer near you that happens to carry Aladino, peruse through the offering. If you like a medium smoke, that's medium body, medium strength, then the Aladino Classic is one that might be right up your alley. I still have the extra Sumatra that they sent me that's just chilling in the humidor right now, as me and Jeff and Dreezy say, moisturizing, just waiting for it because it's a Toro size, so I need a little longer time to smoke that. But both the Classic and the Sumatra are Honduran puros because all the tobaccos are grown in Honduras. But as opposed to the Reserva, I'm trying blends made with Corojo and Habano. Bottom line, I love the Reserva, yes. But trying out different blends from the Aroa family demonstrates their expertise in mastering hard-to-grow tobacco varieties and blending them into a smoking experience second to none by the beginner and the aficionado. As always, if you want cigars, a pair of classics, email me, Greg at thebbqcentralshow.com, and I will ship you off a pair to enjoy on me. Otherwise, visit jretobacco.com and find a retailer near you. jretobacco.com. We're back to close the show right after this. Stick around. Be right back.
Let's get back to a guy who has more experience giving you his opinion than he actually has cooking. Once again, here's your host, Greg Rempe.
I thank Brian Jarvis for joining us last segment from the Atlanta barbecue store, AtlantaBBQstore.com, on Instagram, Atlanta BBQ Store. If you want to check him out, give him a follow. And if you're just tuning in, we're closing up shop here, but hour number 1 will be an audio podcast tomorrow. Hour number 2 will be in audio podcast on Thursday. And then don't forget to make sure you catch the best moments of the Barbecue Central Show in 10 minutes or less, episode 309 on Friday. All the way back in the first hour was Stephen Raichlen, barbecuebible.com, and then Wes Wright from cookoutnews.com. Leading off the second hour, it was Susie Bulloch with Todd Bulloch, heygrillhey.com, and then closing out the show, Brian Jarvis from Atlanta BBQ Store, talking about the scoring issue. Not really sure what happened there. I don't know if we'll get the true explanation, but I'll be asking, and maybe I'll have an update for you next week. I want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving coming up on Thursday. By the way, as luck would have it, and as it happened exactly last week, the poll has ended in a 50-50 split. Spatchcock and whole bird taking the day for Thanksgiving on Thursday. So have a great Thanksgiving. Have a winning Black Friday if you do that. And then a great weekend as we lead into those first days of December, if you can believe it. Big show planned for you next week. Embedded correspondence, 100% assurity questions, topics to get into, and more. So how do I always leave you? September 11th, 2001. I will never forget. Until next Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern, this is your program host and proud U.S. American, Greg Rempe. Bye-bye.
Hey, this is Helen Paradise from SoCal, and you are listening to the Barbecue Central Show.